What's going on, everyone? So let's talk about Lonzo Ball. I haven't really talked about Lonzo Ball on this channel. I did like a brief kind of video on Lonzo Ball over on AIS, the Lakers show, when the betting odds came out that Lonzo Ball was favored to land with the Los Angeles Lakers, but kind of more in-depth breakdown on the potential Lonzo Ball. So the Lakers have interest on Lonzo Ball. Lakers may even pursue a trade for Lonzo Ball. There are some pros. There are, in my opinion, more cons than pros. But obviously the pro is if he works and he can get back to that version of Lonzo, even like 80, 90%, right, of Lonzo pre-injury, watch out. So Lonzo has familiarity with LeBron James, played actually very well with and alongside LeBron James. If you remember that season, it was just kind of like a 1-year sample size, but still, right? Like, they looked very good together. 3, Lonzo Ball has very drastically improved his three-point shooting, and defensively would be everything we need and then some. I mean, the guy would be an absolute monster on the defensive end, right? At point of attack, size, versatility, shooting, rebound. I mean, everything you need from the point guard position that the Lakers desperately need, particularly out on the perimeter, as that point of attack, as a defensive guy, as that pace pusher, as that, rim pressure guy, as a spot up, catch and shoot three-point shooting guy, which he did a lot more with in Chicago. He's doing a lot more of it this season in Chicago too. Ideal, perfect, make it happen. Problem is he can't stay healthy, and it's a big risk. Now, he is an expiring contract, so that's another kind of pro to where you have flexibility, and if it works, you can kind of, drop the price. You can kind of drop the payout, yearly, a new contract, right? Maybe give him 4 years, $40 million, or maybe give him a prove-it deal, right, where it's like, hey, we'll give you $15 million this year, and if it works out, we'll get you a new contract more long-term, right? Like, maybe you work something out, right? But my concern is the Lakers already have injury issues with Jared Vanderbilt and Christian Wood, and, they've had kind of a couple knick-knack injuries. Now, to be fair with the Lakers coaching staff, or training staff, and medical staff, Jared Vanderbilt and Christian Wood were pre this new staff. Right? So, can this staff kind of get Lonzo right? The head of our health and training, strength and conditioning, all that stuff, right, was an Olympic. He was like the head of the Olympics, right, for men's basketball and other sports. So, if anyone could kind of get Lonzo right, it's probably him, right? Like, kind of get him strength and conditioning and kind of get himself back in proper manner, proper shape. Hopefully, because again, like the vision, the vision board of like, yes, Lonzo Ball, perfect, right? I mean, he's like, there's not very many better options that actually are available in particular, but period, of that Lonzo. Like, if he can get back to that, but can he? You've seen a lot of guys get injured and then come back, and they're never the same. Now you have had sort of guys that have like reinvented themselves, right? Sean Livingston is a great example, right? Kind of reinvented himself and then fit in beautifully with the Golden State Warriors on their kind of runs, on their championship runs. So there's definitely that possibility. There's always that potential of a guy, gets hurt, needs to kind of find and reshape his career. Maybe the Lakers are an organization that could do that. You also wouldn't have to be so reliant on Lonzo. You kind of just need him to initiate the offense, right? Make the plays, play some defense, and hit the open shot, right? You don't need him to create and do all this other stuff. You just kind of like, hey, find the open man, run the pick and roll, like do the basics. The problem is we really need him primarily for his defense as well as his three-point shooting ability. So can he kind of get back to being that efficient three-point shooter? He is still only 27 years old. That's a benefit. But it's really hard. I would rather, me personally, before we dive into the stats of that, I would rather wait for him to become a free agent and then just go and sign him. Not this season, next season. So I've seen a lot of people be like, just wait for him to get bought out if he gets bought out and then sign him. Even if that happens, the Lakers cannot sign him. So because of the new CBA, the Lakers cannot sign anybody making more than the full mid-level exception, which is like roughly $13 million, somewhere in that ballpark, right? So Lonzo Ball making the 20 plus million that he's making, you wouldn't be able to sign him off of a buyout. Even if he wanted to come here, even if you wanted him, he's making 21.4 million basically. So let's call it 22 million is what the Lakers would have to send out. Now, you could, if you wanted to, argue, D'Lo and Jalen Hood-Schifino basically get you to Lonzo Ball. I think you'd have to throw in like a Maxwell Lewis or something like that too. But let's say, even clear off a roster spot if you wanted to, right? Okay, Jalen Schifino's giving you nothing, no big deal. Maxwell Lewis, all right, fine. DAngelo Russell. I know D'Lo has not been great this season. I know he has not been the player that we need or want him to be. Lonzo Ball would be better, in my opinion, just fit-wise and what this team desperately needs. However, again, the best ability is availability. If you told me healthy Lonzo, Chicago version, even 80% of that, or D'Lo, give me that version of Lonzo all day, including Sunday. But does that version of Lonzo still exist? Can that version of Lonzo come back? It's a risk. Now, if it does, it's probably going to pay off huge. I mean, you're talking about a real game-changing move because he is so good defensively, because he can shoot the three ball so well. Again, we're going off of the Lonzo before, and he can help make plays, rebound, do everything, right? Talk about a ceiling raiser. He's a ceiling. He's not like Zach LaVine level or anything like that, but he is really good, very low risk, high reward because he is an expiring contract. But to get into the stats and break all that stuff down, right? So again, remember, he didn't play the last 2 seasons. But pre-Lonzo Ball, 35 games before he got hurt, he averaged 34.6 minutes per game, 11 attempts per game, shot 42.3% from the floor, 42.3% from three-point range, and 42.3% from two-point range, which I think is insane. So total field goal percentage was 42.3 because he shot 42.3% from three-point range and two-point range. Now, from two-point range was only 3.5 attempts, where three-point range was 7.4, and he shot 42.3%. Now, you also got to keep in mind, after he left the Lakers, he shot 38% and 38% back-to-back seasons on 5 attempts and 6 attempts, and then went to Chicago and shot 6 attempts and 8.3 attempts in New Orleans. And then went to Chicago and shot 7.4 attempts on 42.3%. Would be fantastic. EFG of 56.7%. Free throw percentage 75% on basically one attempt because you're taking a bunch of threes. You're not drawing contact. You're not getting to the foul line a bunch. But this is where he'd really help. He is a career 6 rebounds, 6 assists guy with 1.5 steals and a block, as well as points. That season was 13. He averaged nearly 2 steals, a block, 5.4 rebounds, 5.1 assists that season before he got hurt. So he was basically a 13, 5, and 5 guy with 2 steals and a block. But it's also the defensive impact, the athleticism he had, all of that stuff, right? Now you look at this season, 11-game sample size, so he's already missed more than half the season. Something you got to keep in mind. And he's only playing 17.7 minutes. In that time, he is averaging 5.4 attempts, so essentially half. He is doing half of what he was doing when he last was healthy, right? So 5.4 attempts compared to 10.9, so literally half. Half the minutes almost to the number, and half the attempts almost to the number. 32.2% from the field. 3-point range, he's only shooting 30% on 4.5 attempts. 2-point range, 44.4%. He has an EFG of 45%. He is 100% from the foul line on 0.6 attempts. He is averaging 3.2 rebounds and 4 assists with 5 points. So right now, in literally half the time, 6 points would be nice. 6 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. Or sorry, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, with a steal and a block. So he's actually averaging half the minutes and half the production of what he did previously. It's the efficiency, primarily from three-point range. Now he isn't taking as many. He's taking literally half the attempts from three-point range, but he's shooting half the percentage, or not half the percentage, but 12% worse. Can he get back that three-point percentage? And can he stay on the basketball court is the biggest question. Right? He's already dealing with injuries. He's already injury prone. He's already missing 11 games. You have to have his minutes cut down. It's just like that's where my dilemma is. I don't know if you're going to get the consistency out of him and the game-to-game basis out of him that is necessary and what you need to really have an impact. And that $22 million can be allocated elsewhere. Now, look, I've always said you don't want to make decisions based on injuries, right? Like people talk about like Zach LaVine or Brandon, guys like that. But there's also there's outliers, and Lonzo would be that outlier. Like Lonzo again hasn't played in 2 years, and he's only played half of the season thus far, right? Like people think Zach LaVine is injury prone, right? Like because again, I'm a big Zach LaVine guy. I regularly hear people go, oh, like, I can't believe you'd want Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine's injury prone. And then those same people will be like, we should go get Lonzo Ball. First off, Zach LaVine is better and would be a greater ceiling raiser. I understand he's like 20 million more, but that's because he's better and would be a greater ceiling raiser. And he's played, yes, last season played 25 games, but it's because he didn't want to go to Detroit, but then played 77 games and 67 games. Like, what are we talking about here? Right? Like, literally, Lonzo Ball has played, in the last 4 seasons, has played less than 1 season Zach LaVine has played. Right? Zach LaVine last season playing 25 games was almost as much as this season thus far and last season combined. Like, it's just, it's not the same thing. I like Lonzo a lot. I wish we could have found a way to keep him. A lot of talks about like, oh, we got Lonzo and Kuzma and Brandon. Let's get the band back together, right? And I would love that. Honestly, I think like that would be great to see, and especially win a championship with Lonzo. And could you imagine LeVar Ball if the Lakers win a championship with Lonzo? I mean, even Lonzo just going back to the Lakers. Could you imagine LeVar Ball and all the stuff that he'll talk and everything? But nonetheless, right? Like it's just he can't. It's too much of a... The Lakers aren't in a position to take the risk. If the Lakers were in a position to take the risk, sure. Right? If it was like, yeah, you maintain flexibility, right? But the Lakers, you can't gamble right now. We're not in a position to gamble. Lakers have to make sure that they handle business. He would be the perfect fit if at the guard position, at the point guard position for what the Lakers need. No ands, ifs, buts about it. Seamless. But can he stay healthy and can he get back to being that guy? I don't know if those are two big things, right? Can he play? And if he does play, can he get back to being good, or is he essentially a dud, right? Like, I don't know. That's the problem. And do you end up having to rely on him too much to where he can't, like, how many minutes can you play him? Right? Because if you can only play him 17 minutes a game, well, then you probably don't need him. You're probably not having him as your starter. You're having him as your backup. Okay, well, then you probably should go get another guy. It's not worth it. Like, it's just not worth the risk, in my opinion. Next season, in the offseason, if he wants to come to LA on a prove-it deal, and you can pay him 10, 15 million, sure. Sign me up. All right, give me that chance. Because hopefully by then we've gotten all the other pieces you need. But outside of that, nah, you got to stay away from Lonzo, in my opinion. I think you need to stay as far away from Lonzo as possible. I like Lonzo, maybe next year, but this year, can't risk it. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, and I pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you agree with me? Do you think that, yes, stay as far away from Lonzo Ball as possible? It's just not worth the risk. It's not worth the gamble of him being healthy and him giving you the production you need defensively, athleticism-wise, playmaking-wise, like all those things, right? He's still 27, so you could still have him for another 5+ years, right? Like, it's just him and Anthony Davis would just be tough. Could you imagine Lonzo with Anthony Davis and just the way Lonzo can, wheel and deal? Like, oh, man, it would be beautiful. I see the vision. I get the vision. I get the idea. It's just, it's not worth the risk, in my opinion. I just think you gotta stay away, unfortunately. Which again, it's very unfortunate. But again, however you feel, whatever your thoughts are, let me know either way down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. Lets me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.